The main thing we were looking at is between the powder scales, the one that is more precise versus the one that is a little less precise in measurement. Is there a difference? And there is a difference. Hey, welcome back and thanks for watching Precision Rifle Network. My name's Justin, and today we want to look at the RCBS Matchmaster powder dispenser. There's a lot of powder dispensers out there. RCBS makes a lot of great products, but this is their top shelf powder dispenser. I'm not going to do really a traditional review on it. I'm going to do more of a video on does it make sense to spend quite a bit more money on a powder dispenser? Does that play into accuracy, consistency, and is it worth the investment, really?
Guys, once you get done reloading all of that precious ammo, you're going to need something cool to carry it in. This is the ammo novel from Coltac. Use code PRN10 to get 10% off of everything that Coltac sells. Go check them out.
You know, we see most powder dispensers go to the 10th of the grain. That's pretty common. And then we have other powder dispensers like this Matchmaster that go to the 1/100th of a grain, just one more decibel point. And so we're going to kind of look and see, is that a significant difference? What does that look like in terms of how much powder difference is there? And then how much difference is that as far as standard deviation, extreme spread, grouping, accuracy? Is that a significant difference in consideration to competition and shooting matches, shooting F-class, or just general hunting, general plinking, target shooting that's not for a competitor? And where does that play in? Help you make decisions, spend your money wisely, and decide if it's worth the investment or not. Because I do think that there are competitors out there that it absolutely is worth it, and maybe others in a different realm of shooting that maybe it's not justified to spend as much money. So before we get into it, I just want to point this out. This is one of the things I love about this product is the drain. If you're like me, you have dumped powder out before by not realizing the drain was still open from draining the previous powder. It's almost impossible to do on this one because one, it's on the bottom, and two, you'll hear this beeping. If you leave the drain open, it'll let you know that the drain plug is still open. So that's just really cool, but let's get into the rest. So the first thing I want to show you is kind of the difference, like I said, between what's a 10th of a grain versus a 100th of a grain. I've been using in the past, I've used the RCBS Chargemaster Lite. Love it. It's been great for me for reloading, getting into PRS. Is able to get my SDs down below 10 feet per second, and has worked great. Well, but I want to show you the difference of what that extra decimal point, that hundredth of a grain, looks like, and what kind of deviation you have there in weight without that extra decimal point. So I'm going to use this Chargemaster Lite to measure out a specific powder charge weight, and then put it on the Chargemaster, the RCBS Matchmaster, sorry, and see what difference there is, and let you look at that. And then we're going to look at, in powder terms, how much powder is that. So let's check that out. So let's see, we'll measure this out to 43.6, and then we'll check it on the Matchmaster scale and see what the difference is. 43.6. So that one is pretty close. So we'll do this again. Take the 43.6 here, measure it on the Matchmaster. So 43.54. Let's do one more. 43.6. Measure it over here. 43.60, right on the money. So then we'll look at, so what does that difference look like? When you talk about a tenth of a grain versus a hundredth of a grain, you can see that deviation from that Chargemaster Light, up to I guess 100th. What are we talking about in terms of powder? How much powder is that? So for this Stayball 6.5, this is how much powder that you may be overcharging or undercharging with a scale that measures to a tenth. Not a whole lot. Is that significant? We're going to do some testing later to find out. That's how much powder we're talking about. It's not a whole lot. And then when we talk about extruded powders like a H4350, what's that difference look like? It's, up to maybe 3 or 4 kernels of powder. So is that significant? What does that look like? We're going to find out. So as far as components, we have brand new, never fired alpha brass in 25 Creedmoor. We're using this Stayball 6.5 ball powder and Hornady 134 grain ELD match for projectiles. I set these both up. The Matchmaster I do have set at the slowest powder rate, so it is going to flow a little slower because I want it to go and land right at 43.60 every time. And the Matchmaster or the Chargemaster Light is going to be a little bit quicker. Obviously, it's not going to the 100th of a grain. It's only going to a tenth. It doesn't have a calibration setting where you can increase the flow rate like the Matchmaster does, which is a really cool feature on the Matchmaster. So we do 10 rounds each, 10 rounds with the Chargemaster Light and 10 rounds with the Matchmaster. So we got 10 loaded with the Matchmaster and 10 with the Chargemaster Light. And we'll go and seat these bullets. Then we'll be ready to go to the range and see if there's any difference. So like I said, this is virgin brass. I've chamfered and deburred, the necks, and using a short action custom seating die, seating them all to the same seating depth. Nothing special there, but all consistently. Only thing that's different about these is the scale that was used for the powder. So we're just gonna go shoot it on paper, measure it on a chronograph, starting with the rounds that were, the powder was measured with the RCBS Matchmaster. So you can see that's a pretty good group. I will say the Mirage was coming off of the heat of that suppressor, but overall, standard deviation and extreme spread, not horrible. I do like that to be under 10 on the ST side, but not horrible. So now we'll have the rounds that were loaded with the Chargemaster Light with this one is the one once again that measures to the 10th of a grain versus 100th of a grain. The group size did open up a little bit. Like I said, I was picking up a little bit of Mirage off of the suppressor. I even checked make sure the suppressor was still tight because the group is a little bit larger. But we were mostly looking at the consistency as far as the chronograph goes. And here you'll see the standard deviation is about 2 feet per second higher, and extreme spread is around 7 feet per second higher on these rounds. So as you saw in that video, there is a difference. Is it a significant difference? We're talking about a difference of 2 feet per second in regards to standard deviation, and I think it was around 7 feet per second difference in extreme spread. Of course, this powder charge was just kind of I have not developed a load for that Stayball 6.5, so this was just a kind of a standard charge weight. You could probably get those numbers down, but the main thing we were looking at is between the powder scales, the one that is more precise versus the one that is a little less precise in measurement. Is there a difference? And there is a difference. So what does that play out to? If I'm looking at charging powder with a scale that's less precise, and we're looking at a standard deviation of 2 feet per second greater, or extreme spread that's 7 feet per second greater, is that significant? I would say for some, yes. For others, maybe not as significant. And what I mean by that is if you're a mid-pack shooter or entry-level shooter in PRS competition and in bench rest F class, things like that, then there may be other things you need to worry about other than your powder being a few kernels off. But if you are a high-level competitor, that can be the difference of making one extra impact, two extra impacts, versus missing the target. And if you notice in 2-day national matches, as far as PRS goes, the top 10, top 20, there's a pretty tight competition when you talk about a points race there. I've seen matches where a tie is between 5 different people, so a 5-way tie. I've seen them where 1 point separates multiple places. So when we're talking about that high level of a competitor, it absolutely can make a significant difference if just having more consistent and precise powder charges gets you 1 extra hit, 2 extra hits. That can be the difference in winning a match, placing 5, 6 places higher, winning a much larger prize off the prize table. So that's something to consider depending on where you're at. And maybe you just want to remove doubt and gain confidence knowing that your powder measure is as precise as it can be, and that's not an issue. Sometimes that's just in our head. We want to make sure that we are using good equipment and setting ourselves up for success the best way possible. As far as that goes, I do think there is a difference that can be weighed out and justified by you, the shooter, to determine is spending a few $100s more, is it worth it at this point where I'm at in my level of skill, or do I need to just start with a powder measure that doesn't quite measure as precise but is still reliable? And I think that's up for each shooter to decide, but I hope that video helps you decide. In regards to the Matchmaster powder dispenser, I know I wasn't going to do a typical review. This is kind of what I wanted to show you guys to help make a decision, but it's a great product. We didn't go into depth, but you can highly customize how you use it. If you want to increase the speed but lessen the accuracy of the load, you can create margins. You can select different powder dispense modes to match your preference. If you're wanting to just pump out loads quickly and aren't as concerned about how precise the measurement is, then you can fine-tune that and adjust that. On this video, I had it set to where it was going to measure at a slower speed, but absolutely the most precise that it could, to make sure that we were getting a consistent, exact load charge, and it did a great job at that. But it's a really cool product. Go and check out RCBS. All of their line of product, as I said before, have been great, been reliable. It's a company and a product and a brand that has been around for years and has established a great reputation in the reloading community. So go check out the RCBS the RCBS Matchmaster and see what you think. Ask other shooters. Borrow one if someone's got one. I think you'll be impressed with it. But I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.